Hi everyone, it's Yvonne here again. Today we were going to talk about the steps to reduce stress. These are not the steps to fool your body into thinking you don't have stress, but rather the steps on how to make that stress a little bit less stressful. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that parents have a lot of stress. I'd like to talk about the fact that you have a lot on your plate. The anxiety of the adult world is insane right now. There's so much guilt for not doing enough for your children or for your family or at your job. You feel overwhelmed by the responsibilities that have been put on your plate. If you're working from home, you've got to be self-disciplined to make sure the work gets done. Your children may be staying home from school, so that's on your plate as well. Finding that balance between work and home it's impossible some days, and it's okay. It's okay. That self doubt is going to creep in. Just know you're not the only one stressing and you're not the only one struggling, but we're going to help you through those, finding a way to deal with the stress that you have. I'd like to first point out that this video is twofold. We've got you as a parent, as an adult who has your stresses, and we're trying to give you coping mechanisms. But we also have your child who keeps showing you signs of stress. And if you've watched our other videos, you've identified a few things that tell you your child is feeling stressed. Please remember that you are not different from your children. We're both human beings. We have the same systems that give us input. So all of our senses are taking in information all the time, and sometimes with too much TV, that is a bit too much information and the body gets stressed. Children and adults alike have the same needs. You might be on different phases of those needs, but we have the same needs in the same scale. We also have the same opportunities. Yours might be work opportunities, and your children might have learning opportunities, but in proportion, you have the same opportunities to learn, to express yourself creatively, to possibly have hobbies that you enjoy. And we need to use those to help with your stress. We're going to follow these 5 steps and I'm going to walk you through it. But essentially, this is the plan. This is something that you need to put up on your fridge and follow these steps every time you find something stresses you out. Let's start with step number 1. Let's identify where you feel confident. It's important to acknowledge that you have strengths, that you are good at some things, and you have confidence in those areas. So let's identify where you feel confident. If you feel great at painting, that's the thing that you blossom when you do it. Or you might be an accountant. When you work with numbers, that's where you feel confident. Then we look at where you lack confidence. That area where you lack confidence, that's where you're getting your stress from. The same is true for your children. If you are lacking confidence in something, it's because you feel unsure or you don't have all the information to do it properly. So that's the area we need to look at. We're going to work to your strengths, but let's work a little bit more with the areas you don't feel confident. In the areas where you're not confident, let's isolate why you lack that confidence. Where does that lack of confidence come from? What are you struggling with or struggling to understand? So let's use the example of learning to ride a bike. When you isolate the part that you don't have confidence with, yes, we've identified we're struggling with riding a bike. But let's isolate. Which part are you struggling with? Is it the balance of the bicycle as you're pushing off? Is it maintaining the balance once you're going faster? Is it because you can't stop? And maybe you're not the problem. Maybe the system is the problem. If the bicycle doesn't have brakes, of course you're going to be stressed when you go too fast. The brakes are not working, you don't know how to stop. So that's a very primal example, but really that's how we can work through our problems. Let's isolate where the problem is stressing you out. You need to use the methods of investigation. So look at the system. Look at research on Google, on the internet, or talk to people who know this and have done this before. Research what the solution might be. Investigate where the problem might lie. And then find yourself a mentor. If this is something that is really important enough for you, find yourself someone who has done it before, someone who's perfected it. People love sharing information, especially if it's their hobby, if it's their love. So find someone who has maybe taught you to ride a bicycle. Get a grandparent involved, and then ask that grandparent to work with your child or work with you and give you ideas of how to guide your child on how to ride a bike. So maybe it's a matter of hold on to the seat a little bit longer, or don't tell them when you've let go so that you can build their confidence. Get that mentor in place to teach you more about an area that you're not feeling very confident about. The third step is to look for improvement. So, yes, we want to improve that skill, but where do we start? We start with what we are confident with. So, let's start with just getting on the bike and pushing off. Somebody can hold the bicycle seat, but let's start with what we know. Don't repeat what frustrates you. So, if you are struggling with the getting on, if your child is struggling with getting on the bike, not you, then hold the bike so that they can get on. Don't repeat that frustration of trying to get on the bike. Rather, repeat the successes. That's where we build confidence. So if they are very confident with going fast down a hill, let's do that more often, because that's what builds the confidence. That's what makes them feel like this is something they can do. As soon as you feel more confident in one area, you're willing to take the risk of working on something you're not very confident on. So let's keep working up that staircase from confident to the least confident at the top. We'll get to those bits last. Repetition is how we learn to form those neural pathways. It's how we really get something ingrained in our knowledge. If you link practicing a new skill with an interest, it's much more fun doing the repetition. So having an interest in riding a bike is great, but it's not so much fun if mom and dad are getting quite frustrated with you trying the same thing over and over and over again. Practicing a new skill, if the whole family came out and practiced with you and they took turns pushing the bike or holding the bike, that interest in the family making it so much more fun makes the repetition so much more fun for the person who's learning the new skill. The same is true for us as adults. If you enjoy cooking, use your newfound skill in your hobbies. Find a way to merge them so that you can practice them and have fun doing it. Because as soon as you're having fun, you also feel more confident. If you're having fun, you're willing to make mistakes and try again. So link it up to something that interests you, or for your child, link it to something that interests them. This will also build confidence in them because they're making mistakes, but they don't mind because they're enjoying the activity as well. There's no point having a new skill if you don't implement it. We learn new skills for the art of life. So let's implement that skill. Take it into real life. Have that skill apply to things. So if we're again taking the example of riding a bike, take your child on a long ride, not just up and down the street. Let's take them on a long ride, maybe a path that's through a forest, or going on a trail ride where you hop on your bike and the child hops on their bike, and you just take a half a day, take some water and have a picnic on the other end. But make sure that you implement that skill and make it useful in life. Because what's the point of learning a skill if you don't have a way to use it in life? Have patience. It might take you an hour-long trail, may take you 4 hours to ride. But have patience as that new skill is applied to life. It's not just going to work first time. You've got to have the patience to keep repeating it and enjoying it until eventually it becomes second nature. When that skill becomes second nature, when you've perfected it and you feel confident, you'll see those stress levels will drop. As soon as you have a new skill, feeling more confident in that area will make you less stressed to look it in the eye and tackle it head on. So good luck implementing those 5 steps. I know that they work.